Hello, everybody. I just wanted to walk you through this spreadsheet calculator that I've provided for you that you've downloaded today. A couple things. You have a few blank fields up here that you can fill in for a specific project you're doing, and then you can print this thing out. It'll print out in about 3 pages. The stuff over here to the right will not print out, but you can obviously change that. This includes four different, uh, you know, different methods that you can compare. You can compare expendable. You can compare truckload versus not truckload. Different options you can put in here. Obviously, the green fields are for your input. So if you want to adjust anything, which you'll obviously need to do for your project, you can do that. This is basically your production information that's used to calculate how many parts you're going to need per day. And the other critical thing is how long is this project? Is this a project that's going to last for 2 years or 6 years or 8 years? 3 is very common, so you can adjust that as you want to. It impacts the calculations below, mostly based on how long the packaging that you're going to be using is expected to last. Some of it's expected to last 2 years, some 3, some of it 6 or longer. So it just really depends on that, and that basically um, helps calculate the ultimate answer that you're looking for is down here at the bottom. Is this part trip cost? In other words, it's basically saying over the lifetime of this project, how much is it going to cost me to move these parts from the supplier to my facility or to the kitting facility? Um, these are just names that you give each project. A couple of the key things that you're going to be able to change is this a returnable or expendable? It changes which calculations this thing uses. The other one is this a collapsible packaging? Obviously, it doesn't impact anything that's expendable because you're not return shipping those. The other option is truckload or less than truckload. So, you know, those are kind of the options you've got here. A couple of the key things besides the lifetime of the project is the failure rate. Often this isn't included in there, but some products fail at 15%. So, in other words, during the course of the year, 15% of these of this packaging will fall apart or be damaged to the point we can't use it and we need to replace it. Some of it's 5 or lower percent. Obviously, expendable is 0. You're using it one time and then getting rid of it. The other thing is this disposal cost. So, cardboard, most people don't include this or maybe don't include enough. You need to include any of the disposal fees plus any of the collection and pulling it together and that sort of things. That's going to be in addition or different than returnable packaging. The width, this corresponds to the width of the trailer you'll see down below. The depth is the length of the trailer, and the height is the height of the packaging. If you are going to be using any pallets, please make sure you include add space. So if you have 5 boxes high in this instance and you're going to be using a pallet and it's 5 inches high, you're going to want to add an extra inch here to this height to make sure that it's included in the calculations to, how many of these can I fit on a truck is really what that is. You'll have to play with that and determine where, what adjustments you need to make. If it's collapsible, this is used for the return trip. And here is where you put the life of the container. A lot of containers have a 3-year life. Some of the products that we manufacture have 6 years or longer. They've been in service, some of them 8 or longer years, depending on the product. I put 0 here for the expendable, but that doesn't really matter because we're basically only using it one time. Here you're just putting in a trip calculation, trip cost. So this is used for both the shipping and return if that's done. Here's some trailer dimensions. Just a quick note here is double check the height. Oftentimes people miscalculate um, the height of the trailer as inside the box when you really want to look at what is the height of the door. So sometimes the door height is not the same as the container or inside the box. So just make sure you're using the lowest height, and that'll allow you to get your stuff in the door using a forklift properly. These down here basically just lay out what the results are. So basically, this one's saying you can get 52 containers in a truck. If you decide to use 40 containers, which is what this one is, this one's using less than truckload. Basically, it's just used to determine how many trips are going to be made, plus it also determines what the fleet size you're going to need is. This just talks a little bit about how many days of parts are in the trailer based on these calculations up above. If you use less than truckload, it's going to be looking at this. Otherwise, it's going to be looking at the max containers. A difficult thing to sort of lay out is this replenishment cycle. I think these are self-explanatory, but these are what you would like to do in this green field. The only thing it forces you to do is if you select 1 day of in transit, but you can already see up here that there's 2.5 days or 2.6 days on the truck, it will basically increase this. So it's only going to let you, instead of putting 1 day, which I believe is like 20 containers, it's going to force you to put 52 containers in there. So this will basically determine the minimum number of containers that you can have in your fleet. Obviously, the expendable is just, it's not used for that as much. This tells you how many actually you're going to have. So here you put 2.5. You can have 2.5 days at the supplier. It will let you do that. It will let you put less packages at certain locations. This is something that we can play with, and you're just going to want to observe and make sure that these make sense. And basically here it's giving you the fleet size. So if you were going to go place this order, you would need 237 of these containers. Now, if you want to order some extra, you're going to have to add that to your calculations. This shipping cost or shipping, this tells you how many shipments that you have inbound and how many outbound. You can see these are collapsible, so the outbound shipments is less than the inbound. Here you're only putting on 40, you're using LTL, and here you're not shipping any of the containers back. This, again, most of these assumptions I put over here to the right. This lays out your costs. Here's your inbound shipping cost based on the number of trips and the cost per trip. Inbound, return, your total shipping costs that you're going to have. Here's containers. And this is, most people look at this purchase price, but you also need to take into account how many containers am I going to need to buy over this 3-year project to replace the failures. Now, in this case, we use the total purchase price to fill back in here. In the case of steel racks, maybe you're not having failure in the steel, but in the bag. But you also have the cost of taking it out of service. You have the cost of actually replacing it and placing the orders. So we just used the price of the product as a multiple. So, if you've got 100 racks and you've got 10% failure rate, you're going to have 10 racks fail. This would just be 10 times the purchase price. So you may want to adjust this accordingly, but it's something that you need to take into account. This purchase, if I go back up here and I say this bag only lasts 3 years, or this product only lasts 3 years, and this project is supposed to last for 4 years, what this calculation does is it says, well, you're going to need to purchase that fleet again. You should expect that those containers are going to need to be replaced 100%. So that adds to the purchase cost of the container. Here you can see there's some disposal costs for the cardboard. This is an additional value. So hey, we're buying these racks, but if you go to the top, they're worth $100 a piece at the end of life. It's either scrap steel, or maybe we can reuse them again for another project, but you can determine what the value at the end of the life is. This determines how many cycles each container is going to do. We know how many parts fit in the container, so the cost per trip. And basically, your parts to move from A to B are going to cost you $5.93. Now, if we go back up here and we change this to 3 years, you can see this obviously comes back down, $4.42. What's interesting is this one here that is 20% more cost than this one over here, but its failure rate goes from 15% to 5%. Okay, that reduction in failure rate obviously will allow you to pay 20% more. Now, you have to, take into account how much of a hassle is it to order these things and replace them and get the bags replaced, or the liners replaced, and that sort of thing. And what is that cost? A lot of hidden costs in there. Well, in this case, even with it costing more, the purchase of this is less. The total cost is less. And in this case, we shrunk the fleet by using LTL shipments. Now I have more in shipping costs, but at the end of the day, my cost per trip is less. In many cases, this cardboard is very expensive, so you can see how that weighs out. But you can use this however you want. You can change this if this is a kitting rack. You can think of this as the kitting facility inbound. You're going to need to use LTL in that case. But anyway, that's just some options. If you have questions or comments, feedback, ways that we can improve this, things that I can update this with, I'm definitely looking for feedback. I just wanted to get something out there that's useful, allows people to compare and contrast different options, and give you some feedback. I think it will be helpful, especially the first few times you're doing this. But again, if you have some suggestions to make some improvements to this, or if you find any mathematical errors, I'm very open to taking some feedback on this. I just wanted to create something that's useful for the many engineers and planners that we work with on a daily basis, to give them some feedback on that. And it's just some different things in here that you may not think about asking. So obviously, this is not the end all be all of calculators, but I'm open to feedback, and hopefully we can make some improvement based on what you guys have to say. And I'm hopeful it was helpful to you. Thanks, and have a great day. My contact information is obviously on here if you need to reach out to me. So please let me know. Thank you.